Grant there.
Come on up, Grant.
I'm not the best talker in the world. I didn't expect to come right back up. One of the things that people keep asking us, and I'm sure it doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican, the people that are always in, why are you doing this? Well, I got to tell you, the reason I'm doing it is I'm almost 70 years old. I don't need a job. But I certainly look forward to the challenge. As I look out there in the county and I talk to people in the courthouse, out of the courthouse, well, we don't have an outhouse anymore, but is one of the greatest concerns that people have is a lack of professional politeness, cordiality, analytical skills. We can go down a laundry list of things, but I think the most important thing that the reason I'm running is that I want to be part of the catalyst to make county government better. My view is that as we look forward, Elbert County has a terrible reputation. As you go around the countryside, people actually make jokes about Elbert County and its local governance. And my goal, and the reason I'm running, is because I believe that with the right people in office, we can make Elbert County the best managed county in the state. And by the end of 4 years, we should be able to have people recognize that. And that's going to make time going forward better for all. I still would like your vote. Thank you.
All right, Jack, I told you. It's important.
Danny William Wilcox.
Way to go. Come on, Danny.
Thank you. Instead of talking about myself a little bit, being commissioner, I want to talk about one of the most important things I think we can bring to the position. I think all of us, whoever gets in office, and it's what I see, what I've experienced this last couple months, and it has to do with decision-making skills and abilities and using people to make those decisions. And this was one of my last answers I put in that document. So take this opportunity. What follows is based on observations I made over the past month as your appointed county commissioner. Our citizens deserve commissioners that make rational decisions. Okay, I can trace every problem back to a decision made out of haste, emotions, and it's hurt. Our county faces many serious issues, and I've worked to understand their origin, and I've found many of them stem from questionable decisions made in haste, with emotion, without research, and at times in conflict with legal advice. That can't continue. We've got to depend on each other. Who's ever in there, we have to depend on each other. We have to work at making these decisions, and we have to rely on people and listen to people to get input. Because you can't make it by yourself. You can't make these decisions by yourself. The next thing, I'm new to the campaign thing. So additionally, I've heard comments such as a decision would help your campaign. Similarly, you'd please this group if you make this decision. Actually, these comments were they really frustrated me. Impacts on my campaign, my popularity, my future elections, which I don't know if there'll ever be one, will never be considered when I make a decision. I ask all commissioners entering an office in January to remember who you are here for and why you are making your decisions. It's not for you, not for your party or a specific group. Okay? Not from fear of retaliation. Not out of disdain or disregard for individuals. Instead, base your actions on complete analysis, input from many, careful research, and most importantly, remember, it's ethics and morals that guide you in the right decisions also. That's the basis of everything. So, clearly there was a lot of passion behind what I was writing here, and I had to write it 2 or 3 times because I had to calm down while I was writing. So anyway, my name's Danny Wilcox. You're currently your county commissioner for District 2, and really, I will continue to work hard to serve in a professional manner. So, thank you, and I appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Danny. We got Jack here, who's going to pull us another name.
Hi, Jack.
He's getting good at this.
That was good.
Joel Duvall.
Like the candidates before me have stated, we have a real lack of professionalism in our county. We are the butt of a lot of jokes. I ran 4 years ago for county commissioner, and I think one of my biggest concerns is that our assets have declined another $12 million in the last 4 years. The auditor said this year, and I've sat through many audit reports, that it's the elephant in the room, Elbert County. You guys have got to figure out a way to get some revenue. And every time we have a county commissioner race, the candidates get up and say, I'm going to bring commercial development, I'm going to bring rooftops, I'm going to bring this. We've lived here 23 years. Population has tripled in that time, and we certainly haven't seen a tripling of commercial business. I mean, let's face it, guys, we don't have the infrastructure, and we can't afford the infrastructure. Okay, so one of the things we need to do is make the best use of what we have. And I got to, and you're certainly free to look at this. I got a list the other day from DOLA. This comes from the legislature. It was put out in January 2016. What they do is they take an average of what all 64 counties spend on, for instance, public safety, 19.9%. This graph is with our current budget proposal for 2017. Elbert County spends 47% of its budget on public safety. General government, the 64 counties spend 17.1%. Elbert County is proposing to spend 44%. So the first thing we need to do is reprioritize our budget. We need to get somewhat in line with what some of the other counties are spending. Some departments will get less money, some departments will get more money, but somehow we've got to figure out a way to use the money that we have more effectively. We need to get out there and make sure all the properties are appraised correctly. Make sure all the buildings, all the remodels and all those. There's the percentage that's going around right now is about 40% of barns and things like that are going unappraised. So that's another way we can raise revenues. We need to make sure that the job descriptions for our department heads match the qualifications of the people that we hire. We're doing an awful lot of outsourcing because we have people in there that are somebody's friend or they worked with somebody in a previous job. We got a lot of that kind of stuff going on. So there's a lot of things we can do to find revenue. So again, I've spent 23 years in the county and I've spent a lot of years going to meetings, and I hope that you will consider that experience when you get ready to vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Marlene,
Over there.
I think we're only getting 3 minutes on this.
Pardon me?
I think she only got 3 minutes on that. Is it supposed to be 5?
What do? We'll do the same for everything.
It's been 3.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
actually, I've been clicking it too.
Okay.
I know.
At 2. So, okay, so it's all going to be 3 then.
Sorry. Well, it's supposed to be 5, but we'll do 3 because it won't be fair otherwise.
Okay, well, everyone's been going 3, so 3 is good. All right, I thought it was 2.
No, it's good for the question and answer session. Okay. Jack's getting it.
Shrills. Chris. Richardson.
Thank you, Jack. Come on up, Chris. Rearrange the 3 minutes.
Right. Yeah, and I know we've all got a lot we want to say, and I'll do my best to respect the clicker. Earlier I spoke, I did say I find public service to be a very important thing. I very much recognize the Army paid for my engineering degree. They paid my salary for, the time I was in the Army, and I'm receiving a taxpayer-funded retirement. If I'm not taking what I've learned over the years and giving back to the community I live in, I'm wrong. So that's really the driving force behind that. That and an 11-year-old daughter who's, growing up here in Elbert County because this is where we chose to raise her, and I'd like her to believe someday that Elbert County is more than just a good place to have been from. It'd be nice if she stuck around a little. But I know it's a broad question about what did you want to talk about. There's 2 things I think that are very important when we look at, the future of our county or what I'd like to see change. Number 1 is our culture and the culture of governance. The second is the responsiveness of our government. Culture-wise, it's been talked to by just about everybody. That we've got to bring more professionalism back. We've had a period of time where we had 3 commissioners that really just couldn't get along, and that didn't help anybody. The fact that a lot of good things happen in the county, absent that leadership, speaks volumes for the folks that do work there now. And I think it's also important to recognize that we're in a really unique situation where, with the resignation of Kelly, Danny coming on board and kind of drinking from a fire hose and catching up on all those things that he might not have been looking at as closely as those of us that have been actively running for a year. We're in a position where we're really electing a full new slate, a full new team of county commissioners. So I think that's a pretty unique piece, but that leadership, that the ability of that new team coming in to work together and set a tone to ensure that people that are working for the county are treating each other correctly, are treating each other with respect, and treating the people of the county with respect is very important. The other piece where I talked responsiveness. We've been very reactive as a county for quite some time. A lot of that has to do with just the level of funding. Jill spoke to that a bit. We are just now projecting to get above the level of revenues we had in 2010. So for the last 6 years, obviously costs have gone up, expenses have raised, and we're just getting back to what we started with 6 years ago in terms of revenue. So trying to put out fires, reducing some of the quality and the quantity of services the county could provide, it was the initial reaction. But if we want to become responsive, if we want to serve the needs of the folks of this county, we got to start planning ahead. We do see some revenue growth. We've got a chance to invest in continuing to grow this economy. And then we got to decide what we're going to do with it. We've got to do some planning. We've got to reach out to folks in the community and find out what does this county want. For the last 9 months or so, I've had a survey online. I'm not sure if people have seen it, but just a chance to get input from the people of this county of what do you think our priorities are, what do you think of our current government services, and what would you just like the candidates to know. If you haven't seen that, you can get to it off the Elbert County Citizens page, and I said I would respect the clicker, so I will. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris.
Oh, you're very welcome.
There we are. Come on, Jack.
Bart Miller.
Barb Miller. Okay.
Well, on March 5th, I was chosen for this position by the county delegates in Elbert County, and Democratic delegates, and I have been to lots of BOCC meetings since then. I went to some before, but not nearly as often as I have since then. And I've been seeing just all the complications that are present in our current government, and how emotionally there's so much. Sometimes the meetings are just charged with emotion that people are having trouble just sitting still in their seats listening to the things going on with the commissioners and with other issues around. And I want a BOCC meeting that is calm, straightforward, clear, and that there's not a backdrop of just immense emotional conflict among the county employees who are coming into this discussion. I really care a lot about the water in Elbert County. I've been very concerned about it since I came out and realized if my pump didn't pump, I didn't have any water for my horses, and I didn't have any water for me. And so that became a big issue 23 years ago for me, right off the top. And knowing that we have water now and for the future and for our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren in this county is really important. So that's a very important issue that I want to make sure we don't let other people come into this county, or people in this county come into this county and take away that water from us, or pollute that water by bringing in water from the outside. I want to see what we can do to help Elbert County find solutions for the water issue. I want roads to be as good or better than they have ever been in the past. And I want the quality of the roads, the quality of the work that's done in Elbert County to be the best quality we can create. And I want so much for this county to have good jobs for citizens, so people don't have to always be driving far, far, far away every day to get the money to support their families. I want jobs available. I want businesses to come here from the outside to bring good quality jobs that people can earn a decent living that can support their houses. All right, thank you.
Jack is going to complete his task.
Don Troby.
Thank you, Jack. You said my name better than a lot of my family does. My campaign is based on transparency. I believe that we should ensure that our citizens' concerns are voiced and acted upon. I think we should have meetings so that citizens can participate, whether meetings are on weekends or later in the night. Currently, 9 o'clock on Wednesdays really doesn't cut it for most of our county people. I want to be able to explain to our citizens how we're using our money and why we're using money the way we are. Currently, most of our budgets are not put online. There's been a lot of questions. Core requests go in, and their response is, no such record. With me, that doesn't cut it. I think our county department should be publishing their budget and their expenses on a monthly basis, and it should go on the computer. I think our road department should put out the snow routes and the road maintenance schedules. I believe in accountability. Our government should be responsible for spending, operational efficiencies, and project outcomes. We need to identify strengths and weaknesses to determine opportunities for improvement. Our revenue-producing departments are shorthanded. Like Jill said, our sheriff's department seems to be getting the lion's share of what we have. We don't have enough people for code enforcement. We don't have enough people going out and properly assessing properties. Part of the issue as a result is about 40% of the properties are not properly taxed. The bottom line is I believe that our government should help us with our quality of life. Quality of life is towards the first responders, whether it's law enforcement, EMT, or fire department. We need to maintain and develop our roadways to ensure that they're safe and passable at all times. We need to protect and sustain our water resources. I am not anti-development, but I am for smart development. Right now, there's some development that may be going on in the county that just ain't smart. We need to foster business development, not the big box stores. We need to bring in real businesses, light manufacturing, things where we could actually get good jobs so our kids don't have to leave the county. This fall, there's choices to be made. The choices are, do you want the same government or do you want new government? You know, us cops, we have a lot of good stories. I'm going to tell you one. Back in the day, there was a DEA agent who was on the stand who was testifying. Well, he was being asked about a drug transaction that was going on in a distant tree line on a very dark night. Well, the defense attorney kept saying, how do you know he saw this? What did you see? What did you see? And the DEA agent kept saying, this is what I saw. These are the guys who did it. Well, the defense attorney was really frustrated and finally says, tell me, agent, how far can you see at night? The DEA agent said, I can see the moon. How far is that? So, how does that relate to the story? Do you want to elect somebody who can only see the darkness of the tree line? Or do you want somebody who can see a lot further than that? I'm the guy who can see a lot further than that. The bottom line is, I want to restore good governance to our government. I want to ensure transparency. I want to restore accountability. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Okay, we've been through the first and the second phases pretty quickly, and that's great. Beth has been running around taking citizens' questions. I think she's got a couple, but I think we have a few people also to introduce. Larry, stand up, wave your cowboy hat. Current County Commissioner Larry Ross, thank you for attending, and I know he's not been feeling great, but he's here, so there you go. We also have Kathleen Conway, who is running for District 64, so she's here as well, as she is an Elder County citizen, so I'd like to recognize her. Any other dignitaries? Okay. Beth, you want to come up with the... Okay. Lots of food. Please eat it so the little bugs don't try to carry it away. Lots of water, lots of pop over there, some iced tea, so don't get parched. Get a drink. I'm not sure. How many questions about Beth?
We take a little break.
Anybody got any other questions?
Sure.
Beth, I got another one. Can I get a piece of paper? Especially for the ones that don't get it.
How you doing?
Good.
Good. I haven't been manning the camera, so I hope it's at least catching people.
I think the questions are coming. Donna's going to sing and dance for us.
We got pictures.
Why don't we take, we have a suggestion to take about, let's see, it's 1:46. Let's take about, 7 or 8 minutes, something like that. We'll have the microphone so people can get their questions into Beth. You can also visit with a candidate for a little tiny bit, but get a snack, please, get a snack, and then take 2. And we'll get started with this as soon as we get the questions a little better organized. So bear with us, folks. This is how grassroots things happen.
So that they can
They'll put in passport
And I understand.
So Grant and Chris, Grant and Barb, I'm sorry. The question came in. Citizen question is, how will you evaluate the skill set or the skill sets of the employees at the county? Do you have a plan for how you will evaluate the skill sets of the employees? 2. Let's do 2. 2 apiece. So, yeah.
One of the things that I would do to look at the skill sets of people at the county is to look at their education levels, to see what they majored in, to see what kind of classes they may have had, to know, are they good mathematically, are they good analytically, are they more on the people side of things, are they more better with people issues. That would be the first place I would look. One could give a testing process that would provide other skill sets that you could do that often are done in business situations, governmental situations. One could give something like the Myers-Briggs personality inventory. If you wanted to understand, is this person more of an introvert? Do they not do as well around people, but maybe they do better around machines or in quiet situations? Are they really good at finishing things, or do they keep things moving on and never quite get to the end? Are they more emotional? Are they more logical? All these things can be found in tests, and then you can use those. There are many different kinds of tests one can use to evaluate and look at those kinds of things. The other thing is meeting the people and evaluating just from their own personal knowledge that you can detect is another way to find out what are their particular skills or specialties, which sometimes is really hard to tell until you really get them in a conversation. Right?
That's too complicated for me. I'm an engineer, and I base most of my decisions based on desirable outcomes. I would go in, work with the people, figure out what talents they have, figure out what responsibilities we have, and also, probably most importantly, is put together a strategic plan that gives us a vision of where we want to be in 5 years or in the future. And then try and determine what these people and their talents can provide us with respect to getting to where those desirable outcomes are. One of the things that we got to remember is people are people. And I've got probably more education than most of the employees, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is managing outcomes, putting the people in positions where they can use their God-given talents and do good things for the county. There are, as everyone knows, the reservoir of talent that is available to the county is what it is. We have to live with that. We have to work with that. We have to train with that. And also the other thing is that we can, as Jill pointed out, some of the people probably aren't as qualified as you'd like them to be. However, with training, and if we get the outcomes that we desire, then it's good enough. But what is important is how to get better outcomes going forward. And you can't do that by, and I try to make a joke, and my wife tells me my sense of humor isn't for everyone. Shoot them all but one when the one's to be determined later. We can't do that. What I'm saying is we work with the people. The people educate us, we educate them, and we have a plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you, Barb. Next is going to be Jill and Chris. And basically the question, it's written for Jill, but that also means that Chris gets to reply to it. And why do you feel that it's important to attend all the meetings within the county and distribute, it says meetings, but I think minutes and information to the citizens? That's the question, so we'll let you answer it, and then we're going to let Chris have time to visit on that too.
How many of you have seen the minutes from the November 18th, 1915 BOCC meeting yet? None. I'm sorry, 2015. Yes, 2015. Whoa. That's one reason why it's important to attend meetings. We don't get the minutes up on the website like we should have. Out of the last 24 BOCC meetings, there are so far only 10 sets of minutes on the website. So that's one of the reasons I go to the meetings, is so that I can see what's going on. I also think the Elbert County Citizens Facebook page has become a good venue for spreading the word. It's a way for me, really, to keep track of what's going on in the county, because our website is sadly lacking. That's a correction that needs to be made. We are paying to have that website done. We are outsourcing that right now, and it's not being done. Also, when I ran for commissioner 4 years ago, I said we need to have meetings on nights and weekends. My competitor said the same thing 4 years ago. Hasn't happened yet. So to make the meetings more available to everybody, we need to have meetings on nights occasionally, on weekends, and we need to make sure that somehow those minutes of all the meetings are disseminated to anybody that wants to see them. So that's one thing the commissioners need to make sure, that the message to the elected officials is, if your department is in charge of certain meetings, the Planning Commission, the BOCC meetings, then you need to make sure those minutes get up on the website within 48 hours. I've been doing them for the Elbert County Citizens, just a sort of a brief set of minutes, but at least it's something, and it doesn't take that long. So just a way of keeping the citizens informed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jill. You're not going to get a lot of arguments from me. It's a sad state of affairs when a set of minutes, which legally, sufficiently, a set of minutes for an official meeting is just a record of who was there and what decisions were made. You can almost do that in a check the block format. And I mean, 48 hours for a summary certainly makes sense, but for minutes they actually have to be approved at the next meeting. But they should be at the next meeting. The minutes that were taken should be reviewed, adjusted if needed, and approved and posted. There have been some good things happening lately. For those that haven't seen them, the draft budget, which does have to be distributed to people before a public hearing, and the public hearing is mid-November this year, were published, and I think they've been up there for about 3 weeks now. So if people have questions or they want to look at the draft budget for the county, it's there now, well in advance of when it ever has been. And I think about a week or so ago, there was, for the first time to my knowledge, the county had posted the monthly variance report. How are we performing against our budget? I know it's reviewed monthly. I've never seen it reviewed publicly, which I also think it should be done. I believe department heads and office heads should be in each month to take a look at and discuss where they are in terms of executing their budget. There's a whole lot of legal requirements in the establishment of the budget, public hearings, etc., but there aren't in the execution of the budget as you go forward, and I think that's a place where we need to work. Grant and Danny and I have met and discussed things that we'd like to see several times. One has been a big thing in the past, and I think it needs to be a big part of the future. We have technology here. There was a period of time when the BOCC meetings were streamed live on the website. There was a free service to do that. It took some manpower, and I think in review of people actually watching it, very few people looked at it, and I think a decision was made that it wasn't worth the manpower. But I think it is, and I think we agree that people need to have access to meetings. A business meeting taking place during business hours, which is what the BOCC meetings are, isn't outrageous. Moving around to weekends and others, that's not something one candidate can promise, but I do think what would be really useful are regular town hall meetings out in our districts. If you want to come and listen to a business meeting, by all means, listen to a business meeting. If you have input to the business, make your input. But if you really want to discuss what's going on in the issues of our county, I think town hall forums on weekends and evenings, periodically and throughout the county, would be much more useful. Thank you.
Thank you both. Okay, next we're going to have a question. It's for Danny and for Dawn. The question says, water, water, water. What will you do to keep it in Elbert County? So, gentlemen, Dawn and Danny, whichever of you want to go first.
Hey, Don.
Commissioner.
No. Wait.
These guys are just too polite.
We're afraid. Question is about water. A lot of water issues have to go with overdevelopment. There's a plan somewhere in the county where somebody wants to put in a development of 928 homes. High-density housing. 928 homes on about 300 acres with several hundred acres that are going to be left open. The question is, what do you do with all the water? Are they going to put a pipe in? Are they going to create infrastructure, as they call it, to take water out of our county? Sure, there's a water study going on now where it looks like really nothing much is happening. But yet, when I was in Douglas County at their board meeting, there were some people who live really close to our county line who were talking about their wells going down 70, 90 feet, having to get it re-drilled. So, how are we going to keep the water in the county? We need to be smart development. We need to decide through a master plan how we're going to do it. There's a master plan coming open now. I think we need to have a moratorium on any development until that master plan is done. Thank you.
Okay, water. What's the most important factor for us regarding water? What do we need to determine? The life of our water here in Elbert County. That's Don spoke to it, the water plan. We are currently looking over the contract and getting ready to possibly approve that. I mean, literally within weeks. So that plan is incorporated with a well monitoring study. And that in turn will give us essentially the destiny of our water here in Elbert County, which then we can work backwards and effectively plan for that timeline when unfortunately we'll have to look at bringing water into this county. That's one of the most important things that's being done right now, is we're trying to implement that water plan, and we're monitoring those well monitoring studies. That all ties in together with grant money. So that's a process that's going to be completed soon. The next step is, you talked about housing. That is correct. The housing plan is on the website. It's under CDS, and it actually defines a type of housing, wise growth in this county. It talks about cluster developments. It talks your 5-acre ranchettes. What we need to do is to determine and look to the future. Based on our water supply, we need to monitor those types of developments. And Don, you're exactly right. And we need to wisely develop this county so that water stays in this county and in these developments, and be conservative in these developments. The next thing we need to do is that, and I will tell you, we need to be careful, and like we're looking at this contract right now, is water is a valuable commodity, so it attracts people looking for water because it can be sold. That's what we as commissioners need to monitor through our contracts, and we need to watch for that in the future. One way we can is that when you have, big acre sites and you have people with a lot of water to sell, you know what? This is something we can approach them as a county and impress on them the conservation of water and how important it is to our county. It's what we can do based on their property rights. So with that, I hope that kind of helps you with water in our county. So thank you.
Okay, this question is for everybody, for all of you. And there's been a lot of, everybody in their campaigns has promised that they want transparency and everything like that, and citizen involvement. I would like to know where you stand on a Citizen Financial Advisory Committee, the establishment of such a committee. Will you support that, or do you oppose that? So basically just a quick yes or no and your reasons.
Yay, Chris is running to the microphone. He has a good answer.
I'll let the folks here decide whether that's a good answer, what I have is a good answer or not. If you want a simple yes or no, the simple answer is yes. But I want to give a few seconds of explanation. I came into this political realm working on a citizens committee. I was invited to join an infrastructure assessment committee for the school district. We spent quite a bit of time, almost 2-3 months, trying to shape what that meant beyond just a title. What was the scope of our responsibilities? What was our expected deliverables? Did we have any authority to do anything other than just advise? Things like that are very important. In the school district now, we have a district accountability committee. It's structured in law exactly what they do. But they review our budget. They assist us in developing priorities. There's a lot of things that a citizens committee can do. Finances, what we do in this county is all driven by resources. So citizens' input and how we use those resources, I do think, is critical. The specifics of how that is done, that needs to be looked at once you actually get into the organization. See where you may have gaps, see what can be filled best. Where do you best need input from the citizens? And then how do you package that? How do you use that? How do you help use perhaps a group of citizens to help inform the rest of the community, the rest of the county, what's in that budget and why it's important? So that was a yes in about 3 minutes. Thanks.
Thank you,
There you
Chris.
go.
I would definitely agree that we do need a Citizens Finance Committee. We've had it in the past, but one of the big problems with the way that we budget in this community is in this county is we don't have top-down budgeting. We budget from the bottom up. The staff tells the county commissioners how much money they have, and they try and stretch it far enough. If you look at any school district, any town, city, other municipality, the county commissioners or the board, who's ever in charge, creates a vision. These are the things that we need to do. Maybe roads are a priority, maybe this. So the county commissioners would first need to come up with their vision, and then the committee, which should be made up of some people that have some financial expertise as well as some familiarity with the county, could go to work on assisting with the budgeting. And there should also be accountability. There should be regular meetings between the county commissioners and this board, and there should also be regular town hall meetings, maybe quarterly, between the Financial Citizens Committee and the citizens at large. So if the citizens want to have input, it can be done at that level. Thank you.
I too am for a citizens committee. Part of the reason for that is whenever you have people who are sitting in their little offices, way up on high, they have their own little world, and there are people below them telling them everything's fine and dandy. This is the way forward. Which is why you get issues like a 30% increase for all the new commissioners, why you get 15% increases for all of the department managers, and why none of the workers get a raise. Our road crew, for instance, has not gotten a raise in several years. So is that fair? Well, it is to the bureaucrats. It is to the people who are sitting at the top. If we have people who are regular citizens, we're getting a wider range of input. I think we ought to have some of the workers on the advisory committee too. That'll bring a good dose of reality to those people who are running the county. Thank you.
I also believe we should definitely have a Citizens Finance Council to support the commissioners and to get citizen input in the overview of what's really going on into the county. And I think the people should be people like Jim Whistler, who has a lot of experience in finance in his many jobs that he's had. Somebody like Jim Duvall, who has worked in a bank and knows a great deal about financing and how money moves. And other people in the community. There are many people in this county who are extremely bright and extremely knowledgeable in that field, and we can draw on many of them to come and be a part of the finance machinery. So that particular committee needs to give feedback to the commissioners. It needs to give feedback to the people, and it needs to educate the people as to the state of their opinion of the state of the county finances. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb.
Okay, I guess the short answer is yes. Yes, I'm for Citizens Advisory Budget Committee to some degree. Actually, where I came from, we actually had a Citizens Advisory Budget Committee. That's why I'm calling it that, and it was really helpful for us. It really was. Now, what I think we need to do is that it's going to take the commissioners and also some knowledge, some thought, and in what design, what we want in this kind of committee, what outcomes we want to see, what's the goals, what's the objectives. So I think that will take some discussion between the commissioners that are new into office in January. One thing I would like to take this opportunity to speak about the financial condition of our county, because I've heard so many things, and I've heard a lot of concerns, and you hear constantly. So I took the time to contact Ide Bailey, and the individual is Kimberly, and that is our auditor for the county. And I called her and asked her specifically, can you tell me, first of all, the condition of our county? Here's what she said. She says, vastly improved, and this verbatim, I'll give you her number, vastly improved. Okay, huge improvements, gone from in debt, managed alone, to actually now where you're in the positive, you're actually creating reserves. This is from our auditor. This is an independent individual. Then, after I watched, she says, we're in a recovery mode. True, we are. That's where we're at. And we're little by little getting more reserves and building on those reserves. And then eventually we'll be able to overcome our, like Jill mentioned, our asset depreciation. And it's going to take time, but we are heading the right direction. The next thing I asked her, okay, would you talk to me about the individuals you have to work with in the county? And she says they're the best group of people she's worked with in a long time. And I will tell you, these two individuals are the individuals that are taking criticism from different people that are being threatened with their jobs internally and scrutinized externally. But these are the individuals that the auditor stated that have brought this county, based on their ability and their determination and work ethic, has brought this county, along with everybody else up there, to a better position than we were in 2011. And this is the auditor that has been there from 2011. So, thank you.
Okay, Grant.
Citizens Finance Committee, is that what the term was? Yeah. I think it sounds like a lack of ambition. My view is we need to have a 5-year or longer strategic action plan. The Finance Committee would be subservient to that. They would be measuring mileposts as you went along. Without a plan, it doesn't matter if we have a Finance Committee or not, we're going to continue to operate as we did yesterday, last year, 15 years ago, 25 years ago. We've got to look to the future. We need to have a strategic plan that outlines the direction and where we want to go, and identify mileposts that'll tell us if we're making progress or not. Then there's a position for the Finance Committee to help us evaluate those mileposts, our progress. And the one thing about the Finance Committee, I'm for it. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. What we need is a broader strategic plan that's going to help us know where we're going to, and then that'll help us allocate resources in a much more resourceful way. We got to look to the future. We got to manage for the future, and we can talk about water and all these things. They're all important, and they will all be a portion of the strategic plan. The water studies, all of these type of things, they've got to be inserted there, because committees need to be progressive rather than being kind of a policing action of what we've been doing in the past. I look to the future. I think vision is important, and thanks for listening.
going to end up being for everyone. It's kind of been asked in little three different kind of ways, but basically it's in one question it says, what are each of your views on responsible growth? The other one says, Elbert County is the last rural frontier. How will you keep that in check? Okay, so in some regards, let's kind of weave that together and talk about responsible growth, I would say, with some honoring of our rural roots. And anyone can go. It'll be for all candidates, please. Come on, Don.
Yeah, I'm coming.
I think the first thing we need to do, since we're in the process of writing a new master plan, is we need to put a moratorium on any rezoning until that master plan is done. So everything that's zoned the way it is, then we can develop it as it is zoned if the zoning is in fact, appropriate and all the steps have been taken to make sure that that zoning was done correctly. Okay, so that's the first step, is to make sure that that we don't rezone anything. We have a lot of developers sniffing around the edges of Elbert County because they know that we have a new master plan coming, and that master plan, who knows, maybe it'll be more restrictive, maybe less, but they want to get in before that master plan is completed. So I would say let's put a moratorium on any rezoning until the new master plan is done. And the Planning Commission has selected a company. They're in the process of finalizing that contract right now. In fact, there's a meeting on November 1st if you want to have any input into that contract or have any suggestions that you'd like to make. As far as developing the county, it needs to be basically, we need to preserve the rural character of the county, I think. We're in a very unusual position because we are a somewhat rural county, right next to a metro county, but right along Douglas County, it's basically the suburbs. So it's a tough one. It's a tough question. The Planning Commission is in the process of looking at some small developments off of Singing Hills, and one of the things that they have said is that they want to develop it so that it's in conformity with the neighborhoods that it's around. If they're already 10-acre plots, let's keep it at that. Okay, this 920 houses on 1,100 acres doesn't quite conform to the 2.5 to 5 acre plots that are across the street from it. So if the Planning Commission is telling some of the developers you need to be in conformity to what's around you, they need to be consistent and tell that to all the developers. Thank you.
I'm sure a lot of us have moved from places like Highlands Ranch, Aurora, because we moved out here because of the character that we like. We like the rural atmosphere. We like the bigger lots. We don't necessarily like the congestion. I think we need to try to maintain that as best we can. Development is coming. Development will come, but we need to be smart about it. Through the master plan and through a lot of citizen input, that's how we make the master plan. That's how we preserve the county for our lifetime and for our children's lifetime. Again, development's going to come, but we need to be smart about it. Some of the development we do need is commercial and industrial. We need jobs. If we do that, I think things will be a lot better. We have two major transportation corridors through the county, US 24 and Colorado 86. If there's going to be development, it should be along the transportation routes. And again, that'd be commercial businesses or light industrial. Again, there's things that we can do that we haven't explored. We've heard stories. There was a large car manufacturer that wanted to put a test track here in the county several years ago. It was going to be a track for high altitude testing. They were going to have two tracks, a dirt track, a paved track. They're going to put some accommodations in for the county big shots, or for the corporate big shots. So therefore they could have their testing done, their driving. It would have been a huge revenue influx for the county. That kind of development is what we want. However, the county commissioners at the time decided it just wasn't quite right for us because some of the property that was being used or looked to be used wasn't related to people that they knew. So here we have cronyism that raises its head. Where's that track going now? Adams County. There's a high tension line that was going to come out of the wind farms just to the east of here. That was going to go through Elbert County, again along I-70. There was an easement that the power company wanted. The commissioners at the time says, no, we don't want it to go there. Speculation was that didn't involve land that was connected to them. We got to clean up this county, folks. And again, I think I can help do that.
The development of the master plan has always been central, but it's very important too for the commissioners to be paying attention to the master plan when they make decisions. And that hasn't always been the case. I think the master plan should be respected as the will of the people, if you will. That this is coming from the people, and we need to pay attention. I personally value hugely this environment we live in. I happen to have the most beautiful 80 acres known to man. I think that. Anyway, it's got cliffs behind me, and it's got overviews when you stand up there that are just stunning. And it's got hills all around, and I'm protected from all the winds, and it's just stunning. I just want to live there the rest of my life. I mean, that's how I feel about Elbert County. And at my current age, I think I've got lots of years left, because I've got a good health and good strength and good many things going for me. And I think that this county can be maintained in an incredible way if we get the right people on board in this election. I think that we can. There are many people here who are running for this office who have some pretty clear vision about where things are going. And we need to get clear vision leading this group. So I do believe, though, that we need to make sure that we don't let the master plan get hijacked in this process by changing and changing and changing things beforehand. Thank you.
I'm not speaking, gotta get that.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead. Got it. This is the don't money one.
Okay, I'll speak to the master plan just a little bit. One thing, we're about ready to get started on that master plan, and Chris and Grant know much more about that process and everything that is regarding that plan, more so than I do. But one thing I would advise us on, once we complete this master plan, the one thing you need to do is be sure that it becomes a living document. And by that I mean you always need to reference it, you need to update it, and that's an important factor. I learned that from my previous employment, is that, and the way you do that is you set up strategic planning, master planning. Your master planning actually ties into your strategic plan. You have annual plans, and you actually build those in your organization. So I want to talk to that, and then I'll let Chris and them talk to the master plan more so. But however, development, folks, this is a really important time, because we have a lot of people approaching the county with developments. We do. This is an opportunity I don't think we should pass up. Granted, I understand the master plan is not completed. However, we do have a housing plan that is currently outlined, on the website, and it's a good plan. It speaks to cluster homes, like you folks have mentioned, like you guys are talking about up there off Hilltop, and it speaks to your ranchettes, your 5 and 10 acre sites, and it speaks to how they should be disseminated so you maintain that rural character of the county. I think in the meantime we still try to rely on that so that we don't miss out opportunities on rooftops. Truly, when you look at it, what happens? You need rooftops to support commercial development. When it comes down to it, you got to have them. So with that, thank you.
A moratorium. It's a tactic of the lazy. The reason it's a tactic of the lazy is nothing happens during that period. You don't have to think. You don't have to plan. You don't have to determine what the desirable outcomes might be. So, the master plan will probably take 2 years. I hear stories about it taking 6 months, 9 months, a year. But in a practical sense, if it's put together properly with citizens' input, which is very, very important, it'll take 2 years. We cannot have a period of total inactivity in the county for 2 years.
Rezoning. She was talking rezoning.
Master plan.
Rezone.
Master plan. We got to start at the first. And that was what the basis of the rezoning comment was, is the master plan. So coming back to the real issue here is what we need to do is have the public elect a thinking group of commissioners. Not all guys, maybe.
Hope not.
Maybe. So the point is that we got to think our way through this. We got to get the master plan updated, and if that results in some new and better rezoning rules, I think that's great. If it results in some new and better regulations with respect to water, that's great. But we've got to, one of the things about a moratorium is, using some people's language here, that would mean 2 years of inactivity. In 2 years of inactivity, do you know what you get? 2 years older. You don't gain anything in terms of the managing of the county business. I really think that the county business, with a proper strategic plan, overlain or underlain, whichever is the right word, by a quality master plan and updated rules and regulations, I think is very, very important. Thank you.
Yeah, obviously everybody's using the words master plan. For those that don't know it, the current master plan is 21 years old, so it could drink today if it wanted to. There's really, and that's a shame, honestly. A good master plan ought to be updated probably every 3 to 5 years. If I were king, and I'm not going to be, regardless of what the turnout of the election is, I'd suggest in this county that we be brushing it off and updating it every 4 years, so it continuously informs a new group of commissioners as they come into office with what the people of this county want to see. Having worked on the Planning Commission for the last couple of years, this has been a big piece of what we've been working towards. State grant was received. There's some matching funds from the county. It's been a long time since the county's actually had funds to match a grant. We've lost several in the past because we just didn't have the money to put aside. But the focus of our selection and the focus of the request for proposals that we put out was to bring in a firm that had experience in bringing together public consensus, to get public input, not to steer it in any particular direction or not. This is a product of the Planning Commission, not the county commissioners. It's really a product of the citizens. So that piece is moving forward. If you look on the state demographers figures for Elbert County, right now they're saying that we're going to double in population in the next 20 years. I honestly don't see that happening, but if it were, just to put this in context, that's 9,000 homes that would be added to this county. I think Don lives, you're over in Spring Valley, that's about 300 homes-ish. That would be 30 Spring Valleys in the next 20 years popping up around this county. Nothing like that's going to happen. You can't do that in the time period that we have. It's not what I think the people of this county want, but that's the scope of what you're looking at. Spring Valley's been building out for quite a while now, and they're still not where they want to be. If you wanted to start a Spring Valley, one or two of them every year going forward, you're just not going to see that in this county. You'd have to have an economic boom in this country like we've never seen, with no downturns in the next 20 years. We have the ability to control growth. And the clicker's clicking me off, so I'll move on. But thanks.
Okay, we're going to do one last question, It's actually for Chris and for Jill, and then if other candidates, if you feel compelled that you'd like to speak about it, that would be great. And then what we're going to do is take a photo of each of the commissioners. We want a group photo. The newspapers would like that. So the question that is written says, Elbert County Public Safety budget is way out of whack. The sheriff's office is getting increases every year. This department needs brought back in line. How will you do this? So this is a Chris and Jill question, and others may answer it if you like.
Okay. Yeah, I suspect we'll have very different answers. First, the premise of the question is that the public safety is getting way more money than they should. I wouldn't say that's true, but I do want to put some things in context. That is one piece of our county that operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, not only covering just what the county is responsible for, but after 5 p.m. and weekends, they're also covering the municipalities. So the workload on that section, just the man hours that are being funded in that office are tremendously greater than any of the other offices in the county that operate 36 hours a week. Now, I'm not saying 36 hours is the right answer either, but there has been a open process as budgets are developed. The requirements to be funded are known. They're brought forward in public hearings. We've got other sections, and every other section of this county has people in charge, people that have been elected or hired to lead them, that state what their requirements are. And then commissioners, and our role as commissioners is decide what are the priorities there. We're never going to have enough resources to do everything we need to do. But I would say quite clearly that one of the biggest priorities for this county, other than the general ensuring our ability to sustain ourselves in the future in many ways, and that's water, it's roads, it's etc., is providing for the safety of our people. So I don't think it's horribly out of line. I'm sure we saw some charts and graphs that you know, if you pick data and you show it, it may look too high, but I'm not setting this year's budget. I will be heavily involved, as will the other two commissioners who are elected, in setting priorities for the future and setting them early and being involved in this as they're developed. So again, the premise is there's way too much money. I'm not sure if I agree with that, but I do agree that public safety is one of the priorities for this county. Here you go, Jim.
One of the things I've tried to get a hold of for the last 2 or 3 years is a line item budget from the Sheriff's Department, and I've put in CORA requests, Freedom of Information, and I've gotten responses, no such document exists. So I haven't been able to look at it line by line, but I did show you that chart. All the counties averaged together, 64 counties spend 19.9% of their budget on public safety. Elbert County spends 37% of its budget on public safety. So I think it definitely behooves that we look at it more carefully. We met with the road and bridge guys this week who have 2 water trucks and only one of them is operating, you know, and they are operating with the same number of employees that they had 30 years ago. And they wonder why sometimes their equipment isn't quite as up to date as the sheriff. We have 47 vehicles in the sheriff's department and 17 or 18 deputies. So to me, that's something that definitely needs to be looked at. It's all part of reprioritizing the budget. And you say, yes, we have to have public safety, but you know, so do the other 63 counties in the state. And if they can do it on an average of approximately 20% of their budget, we ought to be able to come in somewhere close to that. So I think that needs to be carefully scrutinized. Thank you.
My career has been in law enforcement, 35 years. I've worked a lot of different jurisdictions. I've seen how things work, and I have a really good idea how things work, having managed investigative groups, and also worked along with state and locals. I think our priorities are kind of askew. We have 47 cars, 46 cars for 46 employees. Sounds like everybody gets to take a car home. How many of you folks get to take a car home after work? Sure, law enforcement guys, I can understand that. They have a reason to take a car home. The command staff, I can see that as well. The administrative staff, I don't know. The jailers, why do they need to take a car home? The cooks, do they take a car home? Well, the sheriff doesn't tell us that. I sat down and asked them, but we never really got that answer really answered. So, my question is, I think we need to rethink what we're doing with the sheriff's department. We have our revenue producing departments that are starved. They're short people. There's a lot of things they can't do. If we're collecting the proper revenue from the people who owe the revenue, a lot of things get paid. We could address a lot of things that we currently are not. Sure, law enforcement is very important. Nobody likes their house getting broken into. Nobody likes to see their stuff getting stolen. And ultimately, you have to have some kind of deterrent. But too much deterrent becomes a problem in and of itself. Some of these folks are saying things are fine just the way they are. Well, there's two kinds of people. There's thermostats and there's thermometers. A thermometer will tell you what the temperature is. A thermostat will set the temperature, and that way the thermometers can know how to read. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Danny wants to go. Oh, Danny wants to go. And then
I
we're
just
doing
have
the
a
photo.
couple
Okay.
things I'd like to say.
Yeah, go right ahead, please.
Okay, a couple things about the sheriff's office is, one, they do have take-home vehicles. And the way the sheriff has managed that is, because I've asked that question of the sheriff to see truly why. But what they do, they allow some of the officers that live in the county to take their vehicles home based on response. So they don't have to go back, pick up a car and respond. So that's one of the reasons why the sheriff has allowed that. And I'm fortunate that I've got one just right across the street that actually will respond from his house instead of having to go back to the county, or be able to respond later at night when you have an officer that's way out in the district and the response time is going to be lengthy. So, and there are other cases where he will allow people to use a take-home vehicle if they go out of the county, but there's specific duties that those individuals actually accomplish for the county or for the sheriff's office. One, they allow an individual to take one home that's down by Castle Rock, which is in Douglas County. Now that individual then goes to the Douglas County Dispatch Center and picks up all the paperwork on a daily basis and brings that back and forth. So the sheriff does monitor that, and you are right. And I was just kind of wanted to clear a little bit of that up. The other thing I'm kind of familiar with, and Don, you probably are too, is the number of responses that the sheriff is encountering now. Currently, 4 years ago, we were responding about 6,000 incidents a year. Currently, we're hitting the 16,000 mark, which, I mean, there's a lot. Now, I've asked him, can you research this and find out why the increase? And it's not traffic citations, because that was the first thing that comes up. So that is a huge response. And when you talk about the sheriff's office, those responses are not single unit responses. Those are actually, they take multiple resources, especially if you have arrest involved, because then you take them to the hotel. So then you also require more resources that you have. And currently our inmates, we are taxed with the number of inmates that we have. So all this kind of leads to an increased cost, plus, like Chris mentioned, the 24/7 operation. But that leads to the increased cost for the sheriff's office. So with that, thank you very much.
We'll get your photo.
The question was about budgeting. Somehow or another, somebody made the pivot and it became about the sheriff's office. Let's return to the question as asked. And the question as asked was related to the budget. And one of the things, as you studied last year's budget and the current base budget, draft budget, you'll note that, well, one of the things when you go and talk to the employees, it's always amazing. They say, Grant, you've got a very varied business background, but you don't understand government accounting. And I says, well, what do you mean? Doesn't it mean cash in, cash out? So if you go in, cash out, and look at the budget in detail, what you'll notice is that the revenue side of the budget has been starved. Dawn mentioned that. It has been starved. The assessor's office has been starved. And the vision part of the budget has been starved. And I think that's the most important part of it. If you study the income stream of the taxable income that we get, 93% of it comes from rooftops, residences. 7% comes from economic development. So what I want to say is that with a proper strategic plan for the future, I think that we can spend some time trying to balance that revenue side of the stream, and with a more balanced revenue side of the income statement, we will have more money to do the things that we need to do.
And we looked earlier this year at the 2015 budget when the assessor, the auditor presented it to us at the Board of County Commissioner meeting. And among the evaluations was that in our 2015 budget, only 1 year ago now, we had about the same percentage as the state percentage for the sheriff's office. We had about a 19 to 20% share. So how in just 2 years later, that's because we're talking about the 2017 budget, are we up to that 37%? That's, or 47%. Which one is it, Joe? 37%, okay. For the sheriff's office. And so that percentage is almost double, and it's only 2 years later. It just seems to me that if we really look at that, there's something out of norm here. That is, the 16,000 calls was probably someplace already actively happening. So I think there's something else going on here that doesn't make much sense. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's not making sense to me in my math. Thanks.
Okay, well, thank you all for coming. Thank you very much to the candidates, and we would like all the candidates to get up here for a group picture before you leave. And then feel free to just mingle with people and ask questions and do whatever you want to do.
What if they moved up a little bit into the sunny part?
Yes, we're on the shadow.
Keep going.
A little more.
Oh, that's a little better. A little better. I got it.